On Saturday, November 5, 1983, while boring in the Frigg gas field in the Norwegian area of the North Ocean, the jumpers Roy P. Lucas, Edwin de Feetist, Truls Hellevik and Bjorn Jæver Bergersen were entrusted with support, far below the apparatus. Helping them were two valiant jump tenders, William Cramond and Martin Saunders. Truls Hellevik and Bjorn Bergersen plunged to a profundity of 295 feet for upkeep on the apparatus base edge of the boring foundation. The capacity to arrive at such profundities was made conceivable using a plunging chime, which could be associated with a bunch of chambers where the jumpers briefly resided. Dissimilar to different jumpers, they spend as long as 28 days in a confined high-pressure chamber, working, eating, and dozing. On the Byford Dolphin, the oil organization anticipated that the jumpers should work long 18-hour shifts on scarcely 3 hours of rest prior to compelling them to work once more. The compensation was incredible, frequently averaging $30,000 to $45,000 every month, except the workplace was claustrophobic and testing. The oil rig depended on many group individuals to take a stab simultaneously. Be that as it may, they had no clue about what was going to occur. The four jumpers' normal techniques would before long turn into a bad dream. As they entered their compressed living chambers, the ringer chambers comprised of Chamber 1, Chamber 2, a getaway case joined on top of a raft, and a trunk that was associated with the plunging chime. The chime would then brace onto this trunk as the two jumping tenders, William Cramond and Martin Saunders, worked it from an external perspective on the apparatus. The compressed chambers were positioned on the apparatus, while the jumping chime could be isolated to slide to the necessary profundity. This arrangement took into consideration the ideal usage of time and assets, smoothing out the progress between the high-pressure submerged climate and the compressed living quarters. While jumping beneath the outer layer of the water, pressure is a jumper's most terrible foe. Surrounding pressure increments by around 1 air for each 33 feet of water profundity. Each extra air adds a devastating power identical to 14.6 pounds per square meter on the body. It's unavoidable, yet these immersion jumpers face serious constraints because of the idea of their work. The main pressing concern with plunging isn't sliding to high tensions yet getting back from those profundities. At the point when lowered adequately profound, the rising water pressure makes nitrogen and helium disintegrate into the circulation system, immersing it with respect to the ascent in pressure. This immersion happens as the jumpers inhale a particular combination of gases inside the chambers, ordinarily including helium and oxygen, known as heliox. This blend is changed in light of the profundity of the plunge. Consequently, the term immersion plunging. On the off chance that jumpers re-emerge excessively fast, the quick tension delivery prompts decompression disorder, or the curves. This condition powers the broke-up nitrogen in the circulatory system to turn into a gas once more, framing nitrogen rises all through the body. The curves can cause queasiness, discombobulation, serious joint torment, loss of motion, and even demise. The best way to forestall decompression infection is to carefully get back to the surface, permitting adequate time for the nitrogen to normally diffuse. In any case, the oil business isn't known for its understanding on this standard day. The existent support professionals guaranteed that the air structure in the hyperbaric chambers matched what the jumpers expected to inhale submerged. Simultaneously, the jump control group worked the plunging ringer, which they raised and brought down on a crane as they observed the jumpers' exercises. At 4 a.m., Truls Hellevik and Bjorn Bergersen had quite recently finished their upkeep work at a tension of 9 environments expected for a profundity of 295 feet and climbed back to the surface utilizing the plunging chime. After arriving at the surface, the jumping chime should have been reattached to the plunging chambers, both working at a similar environmental strain. In the meantime, by all accounts, Roy Lucas and Edwin Quitter were resting, prepared to assume control throughout the following movement when Truls and Bjorn returned. Quite possibly of the most essential job in immersion jumping has a place with the tenders, who help with sending and recovering the umbilical. The umbilical is the actual life-saver of the jumpers, a thick line interfacing the jumper's air supply and correspondence with the surface. Before, tenders were additionally answerable for docking the jumping ringer to the compressed living chambers, similar to the case on the Byford Dolphin. The tenders grasped the existences of their plunging confidants. In any case, they were at that point working for more than 12 hours. The two experienced tenders, William Crammond and Martin Saunders, were prepared to interface the plunging ringer back onto the hyperbaric living loads, as Troels Hellevik and Bjorn Bergersen got back from the profundities. Crammond effectively associated the plunging chime to the living loads and securely saved Bjorn Bergersen and Troels Hellevik in Chamber 1. This jumping group had over and again played out the interaction and knew it inside and out. Under typical conditions, saving jumpers into the rest region and eliminating the plunging chime was sensibly direct. It goes this way: 1. Close the jumping ringer entryway, which would have been available to the storage compartment. 2. Somewhat increment the tension in the jumping chime to firmly seal the ringer entryway. 3. Close the Chamber 1 entryway, which was additionally open to the storage compartment. 4. Gradually decompress the storage compartment until it arrives at a strain of 1 air. 5. Open the clip to isolate the plunging chime from the chamber framework. Out of nowhere, poop hit the fan. Crammond opened the clip, causing a chain response that viciously depressurized the loads. The plunging chime detached before the chamber entryways completely shut, delivering an hazardous depressurization. The strain differential tore through the living loads, yanking Hellevik off his feet as it aimlessly rampaged around the deck. The pneumatic stress inside the ringer right away moved from 9 environments, the tension experienced while 297 feet beneath the water, to 1 climate, the typical pneumatic stress at the surface. The hazardous surge of air out of the chamber sent the weighty jumping ringer flying. The jumping chime struck Crammond and Saunders, fundamentally injuring them. Either Crammond disengaged the plunging ringer without getting a request to do as such, or the jumping chief arranged the coupling lock to be taken out regardless of the passage actually being compressed. Crammond at last capitulated to his wounds. In spite of the fact that Saunders endured his wounds, he didn't leave solid. At the point when team individuals found him in the result, he was somewhat under the 4-ton jumping ringer. His lungs imploded from his wounds. He likewise experienced 3 breaks in his back and a messed up neck. In any case, the destiny of the 4 jumpers inside was far more regrettable. While it's difficult to affirm this, the speed of the savage and spontaneous decompression gave the 4 jumpers a moment and effortless passing. Decompression like this is a capital punishment, and nobody would or could make do. One contrast between the new sea entryway calamity and the Byford Dolphin episode is that the jumpers' remaining parts weren't lost to the ocean. Realizing what definitively befell these horrendously destitute creatures gives little solace, and genuine pictures of the torment their bodies went through which can in any case be tracked down in the authority reports of the episode. The jumpers not even once acknowledged what befell them nor felt the awful impacts of their horrendous passings. Regardless of their closeness to the entryway, Lucas, defeatist, and Bergersen's blood bubbled in a split second in their bodies as colossal measures of disintegrated nitrogen unexpectedly got back to their vaporous state. The jumpers kicked the bucket in a flash. After the blood bubbled from nitrogen development, fat aggregated and cemented in their conduits, veins, hearts, and livers. The blast of power from the gas development dissipated the blood and the assortments of the jumpers all through within the chamber. While the occasions left Lucas, Bergersen, and weakling unrecognizable, Hellevik experienced the most obviously awful demise since he was the nearest to the associating entryway. The tension balance made the entryway chamber 1 to some degree jam, making Hellevik's body be constrained through a little, 24-inch bow molded opening with an enormous power of 25 tons unfit to fit through. The sheer strain brought about the stunning result of his interior organs blasting out of his body through the opening. During the assessment, examiners tracked down Hellevik's spinal section, part of his windpipe, and a portion of his small digestive tract abandoned inside the chime. His different organs looked flawless, as though they were gathered or masterfully took apart and afterward strongly launched out from his body. Eventually, The occurrence brought about a complete casualty count of 5, and the fierceness of the mishap abandoned little blood notwithstanding the destroyed condition of the jumpers' bodies. From the get-go, individuals rushed to fault the team, unexpected miscommunication, or unfortunate schedules as the reasons for the mishap. The team worked north of 12 hours on many events. A slip-up might have handily occurred. Be that as it may, nobody could distinguish the specific elements behind the choice to unlatch the framework erroneously and open everybody to such awful passings. What's more, with Cramond having died, the genuine justification for him opening the clip was everlastingly lost. To limit the impressive dangers, just perfect execution of each and every activity detail, in particular the tension-driven move, can assist groups with keeping away from this horrendous result. Nonetheless, the North Ocean Jumpers Collusion, a gathering of activists comprised of dynamic jumpers and the casualties' family members, accepted that careless higher-ups gave the Byford Dolphin jumpers broken hardware. They kept up with that the strain chamber framework was old, coming up short on the fundamental safeguards to forestall the fiasco. It means a lot to make reference to that the team's gear during the activity was from 1975 and didn't have present-day safeguard highlights. One key missing element was an interlocking system, which would have kept Cramond from opening the storage compartment while the chime was still under tension. Subsequently, authorities reconsidered Norwegian guidelines to order interlock components for all ringer frameworks. In any case, many individuals accepted the sole reason for the mishap was the locking component. In any case, many years after the fact, the story changed. Lamentably, it required a very long time for the Norwegian government, which was accountable for the Byford Dolphin in 1983, to recognize their obligation regarding the occurrence and remunerate the groups of the departed men. It was exclusively in 2009 that the public authority gave undisclosed settlements to the groups of every one of the 6 casualties, including Saunders. As per the report, broken gear caused the mishap as opposed to human blunder. Notwithstanding defective gear, the noisy climate impeding interchanges and indistinct orders added to the mishap. The Byford Dolphin rig was a conspicuous installation in seaward boring for north of 40 years, working in different areas around the world. By 2016, they decommissioned the Byford Dolphin rig, finishing the adventure of its exciting and celebrated profession in the oil and gas industry.